morning.
Really nice of you to speak to us tonight. We thought we'd catch up with you because there's a lot of kerfuffle going on at the moment, put it that way. Some of the stuff's been on the back of the 3 people who left recently. Obviously, Tom Carles, you didn't have anything to do with, as Tom said in his message. Jacob's stuff's pretty private, probably didn't have much to do with that either. But the big one, obviously, was Danny on Sunday. It came as a big shock to most of the fans here. What was the rationale behind it?
Yeah, it's quite ironic we're sitting in the officials' room, which is often a place of much criticism. So, yeah, look, just to sort of address a few things, because I'm really conscious, I've said from day one I'll be quite open and transparent about things, and I don't mind giving a context behind things. What disappoints me, I feel that in this specific scenario, it feels like I have to defend a decision. And that defence is off the back of some of the comments from us parting ways with Danny. First and foremost, what I want to put on record is just because you part ways with a player sometimes, or anybody in life, it doesn't mean that they're devalued in your mind as a person. So what I mean by that, even with the extent of Danny and the player he is, I didn't feel it was working. Okay, and I'll get to that in a second. It doesn't mean that I don't think Danny's a good player. And so people would question, well, why then? And then there's been some comments about we've been playing Danny out of position and little bits and pieces like that. When I first met with Danny in the summer, and we've spoken about how we think we could work together and things could work with a triangulation of the team, Danny and the management team. We spoke about a couple of different positions, and obviously publicly people aren't privy to that conversation. And at no point did we say there is one position that you're going to be playing in. And it materialised that we was playing Danny in a position, and it's come out, not by Danny really, by others, that Danny wasn't playing in his best position. Now, it's interesting that people make a judgment on a player's best position. We've got a player in the camp at the moment who's played in a position this season that they've never done in their career. I think they flourished, and I think it's convinced them that is their position now. Now, with Danny, what's quite interesting and what's been thrown around is his stats this season in terms of number of goals he's scored whilst playing out of position. And then people can use statistics and data in various ways, and we're quite in depth and forensic with the way we use data. And then, but when you look a little bit deeper into things, and this isn't a criticism of Danny, this is just a reality. I would question, well, where was Danny playing for Ashford last season then? Was he playing in his preferred position? If so, actually his goal scoring record in the same amount of games is slightly better this season. When he scored 2 against Erith and Belvedere here, no one questioned the position he was playing in, and he scored 2 goals and we've won the game. When things don't go well, obviously then it's questioned about sort of our decision and formations and team selection and bits and pieces like that. But look, Danny's been a great servant for the club over a couple of periods of time. And again, you look at the statistics and the number of goals he's scored in the number of games for the club, it's quite impressive. And he's served the club really well. And I think that's where some of the disgruntlement comes from. But then if we reflect and go, well, half them goals were scored 5 years ago in his first spell here. And again, that's not a criticism of Danny. That's a reality of that. Then the picture looks quite different. And Danny's statistics this season in terms of his goal return is quite good compared to last season, and when he was maybe at Canvey previously, and when he was at Hastings previously. And I don't know what position Danny played for those teams, but all of a sudden this season it's a question over the position Danny's playing in. Was those teams playing him in those position in that preference position? And if so, why was the goal return better this season? So I think it's quite short-sighted to keep talking about the positional thing. Again, when we look back at the games and we look at the data and the statistics, we create a lot of opportunities. And in 4 out of the last 5 games, I don't think we we scored a goal and we're creating opportunities. That's not Danny's fault. That's a collective, that's a team thing. So I'm not passing the buck on to Danny. I hope Danny goes on and does extremely well. And that's genuine. That's with any player, because there's no malice in the decision. It's not like this personal thing against one person.
So, yeah, we kind of get that. There's been a lot of stuff going on, again, usually on social media, saying, oh no, the club's in financial trouble because we're letting people go. It's nothing to do with that, is it?
No, I haven't read those bits, and I read most of them, to be honest. And the other thing that we need to be conscious of, which is quite a humane thing, when a decision is made like that, it's deemed probably on the exterior like an element of hurt towards somebody. And then what you get people in and around that person who are maybe relatives or close friends or whatever, and what they do quite naturally, and I do the same as a parent, a brother, son or whatever, you defend those around you. Yeah. So then it comes out in that manner, and people maybe look to defend when actually maybe it's not fitting to do so in that manner, because the way in which it was done and the decision behind it isn't personal. It's not as deep as people think that is. Maybe we've done Danny a favour in a strange kind of way, because he'll go on to another club and no doubt he'll do quite well, and I genuinely hope he does. But the backlash of that decision, if I'm completely honest, I'm quite shocked by, not because people feel disgruntled. It's how they respond to it. And just as that same way in that defence that I'm talking about in terms of Danny and those around him, I'm on the receiving end of that, right? So if somebody comes out and criticises somebody in quite a personal way, we'd deem that's not acceptable. But yet it seems acceptable if you're in a management position to receive that. And then when people put comments, because like I said to you, I read them all, right? Managers say they don't read them. I'll openly admit I do read them. If somebody comes out and I think one of the comments was, I'm a bald fraud. Like, great observation, I'm bald, right? I'm quite comfortable with that. I've known that for quite a while. But then, like, my parents or wife might be reading that. Fortunately, my kids aren't old enough to read that sort of stuff. But just have to be careful about what's acceptable and what's not. And that's a disappointing thing for me, how personal people try and go with it as a result of that one decision, the fact that maybe it wasn't working for either party, and we parted ways. And I saw a comment on there earlier about that I'd done it via phone call. I did do it via phone call, because was I meant to invite Danny down to training, let him train and tell him after, invite him down to Ashford, not let him train, tell him before, or take Danny out to Sunday lunch, buy him a drink and a roast dinner, and then tell him then. So you also have to be conscious about people's time and bits and pieces like that in a respectful way. And the conversation with Danny, ironically, I think Danny's okay about it, in a sense of he's moved on and found a club and no doubt will do quite well, it seems, those of us in and around. And obviously one of the things that they're questioning, will it make us weak as a result? Because Danny did score some goals this season, etc. Look, time will tell on this one. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it won't, yes, it will. If I thought it would, I wouldn't have made the decision. And again, that's no negative reflection on Danny as a person. But I think that we can cope, and we've got people in the squad to be able to play in those positions and be equally effective. One of the questions people will be asking, have I done it because I've got direct replacement? No, I haven't at this moment in time. I've said quite publicly that we're looking to strengthen, and we're very active in that. And lots of that goes on behind closed doors. So just because there's not this revolving door of players coming in, doesn't mean that we're not proactive. But what we don't want to do is rush those things and make a mistake and panic, because then you end up with being one of these clubs where you have endless amounts of players, and we've probably got one of the lowest amounts of players that we've used this season. And I did say when I came in, I pride myself on that a little bit, and I know that the fans want the excitement of a new signing, etc. But also they have to be conscious of, if you want to connect with players, Bradley played his 100th game the other day. That doesn't happen if there's a revolving door of players at the club. I think it's important for the players to engage with the fans and vice versa.
Sorry.
No, yeah.
So, Kev, what you're saying is it's just a football decision, and you know, I for one want to trust you guys to make those decisions. That's what you're here for, ultimately. Obviously, results have been poor recently. Definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So, is that what this is about? This recent change, and can we expect more?
Yeah, I think so. We'll carry on working really hard. Look, those decisions for me are never nice, and I think sometimes in football management or life, sometimes people avoid those difficult conversations, if you like. I'm not one to do that. I've done it many times. It's not easy. Had those conversations with players that have been friends and things in the past, and you've had to have that conversation, but that's part of the role in which I have to do. And what I'm not going to do is make these decisions based on what I feel the response will be from outside, because I can't be led by that, because ironically that would be fraudulent, I think. So we'll keep doing that. And also, look, I've got a management team around me that we discuss these things. So it's not like I'm just sitting there on my own, and look, I'm not passing the buck on to Adam and Tommy by any stretch of the imagination. Ultimately, I suppose I have the final say-so in those things. It's a decision we've contemplated for some time, and we felt the timing was right to do that. But you're right, we need to try and evolve on the pitch. And again, not as an excuse, we've got some injuries at this moment in time, so the ability to put out a consistent team has been a little bit restricted with that. We're getting some players back. Obviously, we brought Willian on a 28-day loan from Folkestone, and we're active in the market with other bits and pieces as well. But I'm not going to destabilise the club and go and make a crazy signing on which jeopardises the club or puts us in a real financially difficult situation. But just clarifying your question about budget cuts, I think you was alluding to is probably the term. Absolutely not. And Don hasn't at any point suggested that to us. It's not a financial decision. But it's one that we felt we would make, and Danny will move on, and his family will move on, and we will move on, and the players will move on. And I suggest, in the nicest possible sense, everyone moves on, right? And they back the team, and Bradley came out with a statement the other day, didn't he? Which, fair play for him to do so. I don't think he should have to do that, but he's felt the need to have to do that, and that's probably got to be a reflection for people. Why does the captain feel the need to have to come out to say something like this stage of the season? But you're right. Results haven't been as we designed. I'm absolutely aware of that. Without the need to read social media and people to tell me that, and the buck stops with me. And any blame, look, it can be directed towards me. All I would say on that front is, and not because I'm overly sensitive with it, but just some manners would be appreciated at times. There was a comment about me drinking a cup of coffee during the game. If I was drinking Lucasade, would it have made a difference? I don't know really. If it's any consolation, I didn't have sugar in it. But look, it was cold. I was drinking a coffee. I'll refrain from drinking coffee if it makes people happy. Is that coffee the reason we lost the game? I hope not. But little things like that, I think it's nitpicky. Some of the people, they've certainly got an agenda which I think is beyond me to a certain extent. But look, we keep going and we keep faith, and we keep faith in what we're doing. We're training hard. You've seen the training sessions, how they're set up, etc. That needs to materialise on the pitch and into results. we've still got time left to have relative success this season, and all the time we've got that, we'll just keep working really hard.
Yeah, and on that, we've seen how hard the players work out there. They give it their all. They drive miles to come here to do training, and then they give it their all. There's good spirit out there. And the most disappointing thing that we hear when we go to matches is people moaning at them on the pitch instead of encouraging them. I thought Brad's statement that he came out with, I agree, he didn't need to come out with that, but he was spot on. And on Cray on Saturday, I think your guys need some real support and encouragement, because it's going to be really tough, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I'm yet to come across somebody in life who doesn't thrive off encouragement and positivity, really. And the players are exactly the same, aren't they? They're human beings, and they take things personally. So yeah, the more support we can get, and like I say, I do genuinely believe that there is a lot of support out there for the players still. I think social media's flooded in general by negativity, isn't it? It's far easier to write something negative than it is positive, and I see that in all walks of life. But I don't want this to be about social media. People can hide behind accounts and bits and pieces like that. But I've said, like, when I've done a meet the fans thing, and there's an opportunity for people to ask questions, I'm making this kind of statement or interview now. We'll always do the interviews after the game. The reason why we change around who says it is just because one voice can be quite boring sometimes. Conscious I've got quite a monotone voice, so to listen to me every Sunday afternoon when it comes out, it's probably quite boring for people. So Adam and Tom, and they can articulate well. And look, we're on the same page as the management team, so I've got no concerns about what they will be saying, because we talk constantly. We had a video conference call today on the way to training. We'll speak again this afternoon, and it's about problem solving and thinking of different things and thinking of ways to motivate people or get the most out of people. We've got 2 players that we've done some additional video analysis on this evening that we'll meet with after that. So all those bits and pieces are quite important, and I absolutely appreciate that people can sit there and say, oh great, you do all that, but you're still not getting the results. But like I say, it's those additional things that I fundamentally believe over time will make a difference in terms of player development and the team. So yeah, look, if people don't support me, fine. But support the players because they're good lads. And also Adam and Tom, right? I'm very fortunate working with them, and they do an absolutely selfless, so much effort in terms of what they put into it. So again, some respect towards them really. But look, the season's not over.
No,
right?
we've got some exciting stuff. We've got the Hastings tie now to look forward to as well.
Yeah, look, we've got the Hastings tie. We're still eventually going to travel down to Horndine. I don't know what year that will be in, but we'll get down there and visit that place at some point. So yeah, absolutely a lot to look forward to. Yeah. And we keep going and stay buoyant with it.
And the best of luck on Saturday against Craig. Could be an interesting game.
Yeah, look, they're having a fantastic season.
You've been there before.
Yeah. But even with that, I said about the Danny thing, about wishing people well, other than the fact that they're in our league, I wish them well, right? I'm not the sort of person in life that parts ways with something and then has some vendetta and bitterness against it. There's absolutely no reason to wish them well and they're doing well, other than obviously when we play them. Yeah.
Thanks very much for talking to us. You didn't have to, and you did, and we really respect you for that. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thank you.